Good morning, everyone. I would like to welcome everyone that is attending our first project management webinar series. Can you hear me well?
You're loud and clear, Edson.
Thank you, John. We can start communicating by using the chat window on the left. And if someone wants to make any question, then we can pass the microphone by the end of the webinar. John is just typing that this is the chat. Welcome everyone again. I would like to start introducing myself. My name is Edson Marinho. I am from Brazil, and I would like to quote this sentence that you see here in the first slide from World Vision Zambia, and they're telling about the PMD Pro. This is the best thing that has ever happened to projects and project management in the development sector. So I would like to quote that because it's similar what happened to me. I started working in the project management 15, 14 years ago. I was working for World Vision Brazil, and I was really missing or looking for some methodology that was appropriate for the development sector. And then I found PMD Pro a few years ago, which was very helpful and really make a difference in my way to manage projects, and also on the project's impacts that World Vision and myself could do. So my name is Edson. I'm from Brazil. I am the operations manager of PM4NGOs. We will explain what PM4NGOs is in a little bit. I also have my own consulting company in Brazil focused on project management. And before we start talking about the PMD Pro story, I would like to also invite John to present himself. John, can you make your introduction, please?
Sure. Hello. Thank you so much, Edson. Look, well, first of all, welcome everybody. It is great to see you here. It's great to see interest in learning a bit about the PMD Pro story. I really like the way that you described it there, Edson. And my name is John Cropper. I've worked for NGOs for a long time. I worked for Oxfam GB for 10 years. So I was the programs director in Latin America. I ran the program and project management systems in Oxford, in the head office. And that's where I came into contact with LINGOs. So I represented Oxfam on the group that actually put PMD Pro together, which was in 2007, 8, 9. And then I ran the first pilot, which was with World Vision in Zambia. And then I joined LINGOs at the beginning of 2011. LINGOs is, we'll talk a little bit more about that later, but we are really heavily involved in all aspects of PMD Pro. I'm just really delighted that you are here and interested in learning a little bit more. Back to you, Edson.
Thank you, John. And John already started talking a little bit about the PMD story and how LINGOs got involved with that. I've been working with John for several years now, and he's really an inspiration in this sector as a guide and as a tutor for project management. And he was ahead of the very first group that was creating or developing PMD Pro. Well, we're going to start at shopping time because we want to respect the end of time. So everything started in a few whispers and comments. Everything started by just whispering some comments. LINGOs began to work with a group of international NGOs in 2007, like John just said. And the idea was to collectively define principles and best practice in the project management in the development sector. So the early group received some funding from the PMI Educational Foundation. And it also included the Catholic Relief Services, Habitat for Humanity, World Vision, Save the Children, Oxfam, others representatives as well, and also representatives from the Project Management Institute. So that group laid out a framework of the project management in development curriculum. And it was tested by over 200 practitioners from 15 different organizations in 20 countries. From the initial feedback, testing this initial curriculum, and with funding from APMG, then it was created the PMD Pro guide and the PMD Pro certification. We will talk more about the guide, the methodology, and the certification. The methodology was launched in 2010 in Johannesburg in Zambia. In 2011, the ownership of the certification and the guide of PMD Pro returned to PM4NGOs, which is the organization that I work for. And we also want to just talk about PM4NGO and its role in a bit. Before moving forward, we have a small group. So if anyone wants to make any question or to clarify anything, please just type in the chat, and John's going to be taking notes about questions or clarifications that we have to do, okay? But what is LINGOs? Well, LINGOs is a non-profit organization that is focused on capacity building, as well as John just said. It's been working in for more than 10 years, providing world-class learning opportunities and appropriate, accessible, and affordable for people working to reduce poverty and alleviate suffering from developing world. So it is an association of more than 70 organizations, last time I counted. And as you can see here, there are very significant impact in the world, like Christian Aid, or Save the Children, World Vision, Tear Fund, Catholic Relief, CARE, Plan, Mercy Corps. So I'm not going to say all the names and all organizations, but they are very significant. If you get the whole association, it's very significant, their impact in the world, in the emergency and development situations. So this is LINGOs. And LINGOs been working to create opportunities for strengthening the organizations. It's a capacity building organization. And someone just raised their hand. John, can you talk a little bit more of LINGOs, please?
Yeah, sure, happy to. Yeah, I mean,
John, we can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, loud and clear.
Fantastic, thank you so much. And you know, we are a membership organization. So LINGO stands for Learning in NGOs, and we've got it's now about 85 big and medium-sized NGOs members, which is great, and we do a lot of stuff, a lot of work with them. So many of the things like the CARE Academy, the World Vision University, all of these big internal initiatives, you know, we provide a lot of the e-learning behind that. And then it was actually the members, as Edson said, who asked us, could you do something about project management? And so that's where we started a group out of representatives of the members. And we have a whole range of different sorts of partnerships, really. But as Edson said, everything is focused on developing capacity. Back to you, Edson.
Thank you, John. And I was really amazed the first time that I got in contact with LINGO. So before PMD Pro, it was, and nowadays, you can find a lot of capacity building training and methodologies and materials for reading and learning from those organizations, which is wonderful. Well, let's talk a little bit about PM4NGOs. So as I said, PM4NGOs was created in 2011 to be the guardian or to receive the PMD Pro methodology. So the main role is to develop and update the methodology. I'd like to say that PM4NGOs is not responsible for developing and updating the methodology, but to create the environment for this development and update. We try to collect and study case studies and collect tools and share with everyone in the community. We are now trying to get all PMD Pros connected and to create a community and to recognize the best practice through the All Happen Award. And we also want to connect connect the training organizations and to assure a level of quality on the PMDPro training organizations. And we expect to support or to provide the right environment for creating new methodologies like the PGMD, which is the program methodology, the program management in development guide, which is we expect to launch by the end of the year. But this is PM4NGOs. It was created to be a bridge. I like this clip art of this picture here because it shows what we are trying to do, to create a bridge between training organizations, professionals, and to create an environment for developing new methodologies and new experiences. Well, what is PMDPro? I don't know if all people in the audience have been trained or certified or have read about PMDPro or have any contact with the methodology. Well, PMDPro is a global standard for project management. It's a toolkit. It's also a certification that provides project managers the skills needed to deliver effective, transparent results to donors and communities. So it provides a common and contextualized vocabulary and framework specifically for managing development projects. So before PMDPro, as I said, I'm not sure it's my connection, but you are cutting from time to time. I believe it's your connection. I'm checking here, and it seems that not all connections have these delays. Please, if someone else is having cutting, please let me know. Anyway, and you can talk to John. Maybe he can give you some directions in how to. Oh, it's okay, right? Good, great, John. The PMDPro, as I said, is a toolkit, and it's also certification. Before PMDPro, for managing projects in the development sector, we had to get a cooperative or business methodology and adapt to the development sector, such as PRINCE2 or the PMBOK guide, which is good. PMDPro is not better and worse than PMBOK or PRINCE2. It's just adapted to the development sector. In fact, it was created having the PMBOK as its basis for the tools and the phases. Talking about the certification, and then we're going to talk about the methodology itself. The certification has 3 levels: the PMDPro level 1, level 2, and level 3. The level 1 is a foundation knowledge. So the certification, the exam is testing if the candidate has had a contact with the methodology. If it has read the guide, and it has participated in a training course or a self-study learning, and have a contact with the methodology. The PMDPro level 2 is an application. So the questions will test if the candidate has applied the methodology and if he or she knows what is the best answer for some situations. So it's different. Instead of just asking a concept, it's going to ask what is the best option or what's the best decision that you have to take. And then for giving that right answer, you have to apply the methodology in the field in your projects. The level 3, we're still developing this standard, but probably it's going to be something related to evidences. So the level 3 is still under development, and we expect the PMDPros, they're already certified professionals, to help us to develop the PMDPro 3 level exam or testing or process. This is the project phase model of PMDPro. If you compare to other projects, phases, cycles, or models, this is not better or worse than any cycle. Some organizations have their own phase model, and some funding organizations also have their own phase model. So this is not better or worse. This is the one that all those people connected through LINGOs to create the PMDPro came up, and I really like this one. It has 6 phases. The first one is the project identification and design, which is very different from other methodologies. The PMDPro really focused on trying to identify the real problem and what we have to address on your projects. So the design is very important for the project, for the full project, for the development of the whole project. Then we have a setup phase, which is when you decide if you go ahead or if you have a green light to move with your project. We have the planning and implementation, which they are reiterative, so they're happening during all the project. As well, the monitoring, evaluation, and control. And finally, we have the end of project transition, that we like the word transition because in the development sector, we not end the project. Well, the project itself ends, but the methodology, the impact, and everything that you build must stay at the community, must stay after the project. We also have the decision gate, so different from other methodologies that have like a project charter at the beginning or just one approval for the beginning of the project. We know that in our development, in our sector, in the development sector, we have to be confirming the project and the phases and the decisions all over the project. So that's why we have decision gates between all phases and during the phases also. I really like this picture because it shows that the phase model is not like small boxes. We don't start the project identification design and then end it, get the project set up and end it, and then you do the planning and end it, then execute the project. No. So the project phase model shows, this slide shows how the project phase model, how the phases interacting among each other. So you start the project with the project identification design. At the same time, you also start having approval for your projects, for your ideas. You can see that the planning, the implementation, and monitoring and evaluation starts at the same time. You don't finish the identification design to start planning. So you're still collecting data from the community. You're still getting to know the community and their problems. And you're already doing the planning, and you're already hiring people, you're already monitoring, creating indicators, and doing some initial evaluation, for example. Same thing if you think about it, look at the end of the project. So we don't finish the project in the last month. We start planning, we start executing activities to transfer your knowledge, to transfer the methodology and the project for the community, at least 1/3 before the end of the project. So this slide is one slide that I really like, and I have it printed in my office because there is a very specific moment in the project that creates a confusion, which is this one that I'm pointing right now. When you have almost all the phases happening at the same time, and it happens in the field. Sometimes you have people hired, but you don't have their descriptions complete. You don't have the planning complete, but you are executing. You have to monitor some indicators that are not still completely developed. So this is a confusion moment, but it happens in all projects, and it shows that the project phase model or the phases are not separate or isolated from each other. Well, what are the products from LINGOs and for all organizations that are training organizations connected to PM4NGOs and LINGOs? We have the guide, which is now in 8 languages. We have the e-learning process in 5 languages. We have a self-study site. We have training courses online and face-to-face training courses. We have also the train of trainers courses. We have one coming to Brazil this year, I'm almost sure. And we also support implementation and give assistance for all projects. It is important to state that PM4NGOs does not execute any kind of training or support, direct support and assistance. LINGOs, through their PM services, do that. LINGOs and other organizations, there are training organizations or consulting organizations. I'm going to pass to you, John, over.
Thank you so much, Edson. Yeah, I think it's really important just to stress, and I know some people have also been coming in as well, and so they missed the beginning. So again, it's just another chance to say hello and welcome to everybody. LINGOs created PMD Pro and then passed the intellectual property and created PM4NGOs really to own the certification, so that there is a a separation between organizations that are training and organizations that are, well, that own the certification. So, and I do think that's important, because it also means that when people do a certification, you know, they do the test, the fee goes to PM4NGOs, and then that is then used by PM4NGOs to do things like pay for translations, and at the moment, PM4NGOs is looking at a program management guide, so another level. And so the money from that comes through the certification is used for research and development. And welcome, Morgana, just seen you come into the room. And then NDS, I see, actually a very interesting question about different sorts of projects where there are different life cycles. And I think one of the things that PMD Pro tries to do is say, look, this is a generic life cycle, and you can then adapt it for your own circumstances, your own situation. But that then holds true. So then you're saying, well, you've got maybe different grants from different donors with different requirements, different formats, etc. And each one of those projects then needs to be managed separately, presumably as part of a program. PMD Pro focuses much more at the project level rather than the program level, which is why a program level guide is being developed at the moment. But you've also, NDS, a really interesting point in that question, which is also about issue management, dealing with problems and things like that. And issue management is covered in PMD Pro, and it's going to be in the program management guide as well, because, you know, most of project management in reality is implementation. And it doesn't matter how good your plan is, you know, you can have fantastic plans. Sooner or later, something will change and will go wrong. And then you've got tools, you know, like issue logs that can help track those issues and make sure they're being managed. But also, and I think a really important point is that good issue management can really help learning about the projects. Because at the end of the project, you've got an amazing list of all of the things that went wrong, were not planned, and you can then think, well, you know, we lost time because of this delay, there was this problem with a donor, this disbursement didn't happen, we had staff recruitment problems here. And then you can learn from all that and make your schedule more accurate for next time. So it's a great question, and do please feel free to keep any and all questions coming. And I'll pass the microphone back to you, Edson. Over.
Thank you, John. Thank you. It is indeed a very nice question, and I would like just you explain it very well. I would like to just add that when you say that you're managing multiple projects, sometimes probably you have different logical frameworks from each funding organization for each partner. So what we suggest is that you adopt one logical framework or one project phase model, one tool standard for your organization. So decide standards for your organization, which could be the PMD Pro ones, or it could be the PMD Pro adapted to your necessity, but having one standard for all tools and all reports, logical frameworks for your organization would make it much easier to manage multiple projects. And then, of course, we would have to translate or to adapt reports and tools when you're sending them to your funding organizations. There is no binding exactly. Unfortunately, I have seen many cases they're not consulting, there's no binding exactly. We are working to bring more funding organizations and more partners to the PMD Pro. We will see right now, right in a couple of slides, where we're trying to reach and bring more organizations. So we have in the near future a global standard, which would make everything much easier. At least even with some small adaptations, but the basis would be the same. So where are we now? Where is the PMD Pro now? We have 10,015 people certified in more than 79 countries in 8 languages. These are just a few examples of organizations that have been trained in PMD Pro and have taken the exam and they are certified. So you see like World Vision in several countries, Child Fund in several countries. We have APNG, PM4NGOs, LINGOs Project Services, Inside NGOs, Red Eye UK, Inc., ASOVID. Those are organizations that are also making trainings in their countries, in other countries. We have the Genome also. We have the JetPal project was one of the make it possible for the methodology to spread in the world. So, but the real numbers are these ones. This is numbers from last month. And we were really amazed that we are now in 141 countries. This is very significant. If you take only countries that has more than 10 people certified, then we would have 79 countries. So we think that we have a 10 people team that's going to be at least a 10 people team that would be 79 countries. But we have at least one person in 141 countries. That's very significant. We have to look how we can together make more people trained in adopting the methodology and certifying on these countries that has only one person. So this is just the rank. This is one thing that I wanted to highlight is that if you look here, you have USA and United Kingdom here, but most of the countries are developing countries. Kenya, Brazil, Zambia, South Africa, Ethiopia, Zimbabwe, Tanzania, Guatemala. We get to 10,000, exactly, John. And if you think that in USA and in United Kingdom, some people live there but work in the developing country, we have the methodology and the process and the tools really in place on developing countries. We also, we have 8 languages which are English, Spanish, French, Portuguese, Arabic, Italian, Dari, and Russian. And we expect next year to translate the guide for new languages. I just received an email this morning asking if we can translate for Tamil. So maybe we do that next year. And we would like to ask all PMD pros and all professionals which language would be priority. So we do that through the community. It is becoming a standard, exactly, John. This is really exciting. You will find at the PM4NGOs website an interactive map where you can just point the mouse and you see how many PMD professionals there are in that country. So I invite you to visit the PM4NGOs website and play a little bit with this map so you can see each country, how many people are certified in those countries. Mubashar just said, please consider Urdu and Hindi as well. We expect to do that through the community, Mubashar. So we can see, probably going to throw a survey next year or at the end of this year to check the new language to translate the guide. And John just saying that we need to find organizations that can help us because Mandarin is almost finished. So we need also help. Morgana is saying, I think Hindi and Mandarin would be language to be considered. So Mandarin, Morgana, is almost finished. And we need help from organizations. Remember, we are non-profit organizations as well. So we need help at least to identify good translators or a group of volunteer translators. So this is why we are inviting everyone to become a part of this community. As I said, 75% of the PMD Pro candidates are from developing countries. This is very significant. So we have a methodology that's really in place in the field, making some difference. Some of the projects, some of the programs and projects in organizations have, in fact, trained their own communities. So we have the numbers from people that are certified and from people that we have trained through the main organizations, but I am sure that the numbers are higher than that. In fact, the certification is very important for the professional development of the person, for the professional development of the organization, but putting the tools in practice, putting them to work in the field is also very important. If you look through the years, we will see that in 2010 we have only 126 people certified, and then it grew to 910 people in 2011, more than 2,000 in 2012, 2,500 in 2013, 2,800 in 2014, last year. And this year, until June, we have 1,428. So it means that if we keep the same path, we're going to be, we have at least the same number of certified people by the end of the year. And one thing that is also very interesting is the global pass rate. So 77% of the people that take the classes or the self-study guide, the self-studying guide and website pass. Anuraj is saying, I also think Tamil would be good to be considered. It is. So we have a very high global pass rate on the level 1 and 2. This is very good because it shows that the methodology is really connected to what is happening in the practice, what is happening in the field. But what about the projects? I'm showing a lot of numbers of okay, John, I'm going to pass to you. Over.
Yeah, thank you, Edson. I just think because there are lots of people commenting on languages, which I think is all really good, actually. And I just want to give an example of, when we say the community and things like that, what we mean. So, for example, as LINGOs, we did a training of trainers with the Aga Khan Foundation in Afghanistan. It must be nearly 2 years ago now. And then we kept in touch and we helped and supported them as they were training some of their staff. And then at the beginning of this year, they just called up out of the blue and said, we would really like to translate this into Dari. Is this possible? And we said, well, yeah, sure, it's possible, no problem. Let's work on this together. And they have then now translated the guide and the exams, and now it then goes back to the whole community. So anybody in Afghanistan can now do PMDPro in Dari. And I just think that's a really nice example of how the community can help. I mean, the Arabic one was done by a combination of the Qatar charity and then an organization in Jordan, Genome Consulting. And again, the same thing. They had an immediate need. Well, that's great, fantastic. But it goes back for the greater good. So that more people can benefit from this, and and I think that is important because it's about the collaborative nature and just how do we go? I mean, they've got 10,000 people, great. How do we get 100,000? And the number doesn't really matter that much, but the idea is that if we've got the more people are doing this, and it's a standard, it makes it easier as people go from one organization to another. They've actually got a very similar set of tools. And you start to get a common language to talk about the projects. And that's with partners, the project staff, the support staff who get forgotten about in finance, admin, human resources, logistics. And you want one language to describe the projects. And you think about it, if you don't have a common language to talk about the projects, how do you have a sensible conversation? And it was interesting, we did one course with a nameless NGO. It was in Zambia, and they said that one of the benefits of the training was that afterwards, for the first time ever, their program staff and their finance staff were having helpful conversations. So, and that's what happens when you get this sort of common language. Back to you, Edson.
Thank you very much, John. Well, but what about the projects? 10,000 people, but so what? And John just was saying we want to get to 100,000 people. Yes, and maybe more than that. But are the projects better? Are people who are trained delivering better outputs and outcomes? So instead of giving more numbers, I would like to show some quotes, to say some quotes that we had from different organizations. So in MasterCorp, 95% of the responding field leaders agreed that the investment in project management training for their team has paid off. 86% of the training project managers made changes to their practice. 44 made significant changes. If you look at Catholic Relief Services, there is a quote that I'm seeing a greater seriousness with on-time reporting, and also a greater sense of urgency around hitting the targets as planned and within the planned time frame. Also on Catholic Relief Service, reports from the project have shown an improvement on the way projects are managed, which include budget expenditure aligned with the targets. There is a question here. I'm assuming that there is a computer program which forms base for PMD Pro. Is this the case? What is the platform? If this is the case, the platform. Well, there is no specific computer program for PMD Pro. Not yet. We have been thinking about it and how to create a platform and how to create a software. And I know there are several different initiatives on doing that. But yes, this is probably the next step on the online project management for PMD Pro. I'm going to pass to you, John. Over.
Yeah, thank you, Edson. It's an interesting point. There is some really good project management software. I mean, Microsoft Project or whatever. I mean, they're really good. But I also think that they've done a huge amount of damage to good project management, because what happens? Projects are about people. They're about getting groups of people to work well together in a focused way on the goals of the project, whatever you're trying to do. And what I've seen many, many times is that when there is software, people use the software as a substitute for the process. So you have a Gantt chart. Okay. Many computer project management packages will give you a Gantt chart. Yeah. And it will be pretty, and it will have been lots of colors, and everybody likes it. However, if the data that you put in to the computer program is poor, you get a very pretty and wrong Gantt chart coming out. And so, I mean, I think that it's a really important point to make sure that software is secondary to people and process. Back to you, Edson.
Thank you, John. Yes, I completely agree with John. And some people, once I heard someone say that they think that using the Microsoft Office project is terrible to plan their projects. And I said, yes, it is terrible to plan your project. Make your planning in the MS project. The MS project is a system that you have to make your planning. You input in the system and you control there, but you make your planning outside that. So it's about people, as John said. That's great that World Vision in Sri Lanka has just started adopting PMD Pro. Morgana made a question. Edson, do you know the absolute numbers of this percentage? Can we use that in our training? Of course you can. I will send you the year where in the public that we use for this percentage for this survey. John just saying it's a research that was done with the LINGOs members. So you can check it on the PMDPro forward.org website. Well, just a final quote that I think it's very good to see that PMD Pro is also actionable. It's something that's really doing and it's applying to their jobs, for people jobs. And this is that 88% of people describe their training as directly relevant to their work. So, if, as we said, PMD Pro is a tool set. You don't have to use all the tools, but at least most of the tools are being used in the field. Well, what we have ahead of us. So now, until now, we have developed individual professionals. We also have improved organizational capability. We want to see, we expect that the next step is a country-wide adoption of the methodology. And it's happening little by little. So it's the question that John has made. It's how we come from 10,000 to 100,000. How do we get the sector-wide change and the workforce developed? So, and then it's impossible to do that only through LINGOs or through PM4NGOs. This is the 10,000 is going to help us, or we expect that's going to help us to reach 100,000 and 200,000 people. And how can you get involved? How can I get involved? Well, first of all, use it. It's free. The methodology, the PMD Pro guide is free. LINGO's website has a lot of tools and self-study sites. Last Mile Learn is a free website for self-studying. The exam, you can take the practice exam with no cost, so it's free. The training organizations, they have a lot of training organizations that are qualified to train a group or to do a face-to-face training or online training course, which is good. But if you one person is certified in several countries, probably they took a Last Mile Learning or self-study guide. So it's for free. Use it. Download the guide. Start reading it. Get in contact with PMD Pro organizations. Try to bring them to a course in your country or to attend an online training. Book a week of training. Search for training organizations near you. At the PM4NGOs website, you also will find a map where you can see several different training organizations that are recommended by PM4NGOs, including LINGOs, of course. Become a PM4NGO member. So once you are certified as a PMD Pro, you are eligible to become a PM4NGO member for free. So you'll be part of the community that is developing the methodology itself. So we expect the PMD Pros, the PMD professionals to join the PM4NGOs community and help us to evolve the methodology, to try in the field and bring us some feedbacks and say, listen, this works well, this doesn't work like we say in the guide, let's improve it. And I would like to see if there are any questions or doubts or curiosities. We had a lot of good questions so far, but I would like to open the microphone for questions or for considerations or examples. I don't know if John wants to add anything else to this final idea.
Okay, Edson, you're happy to. I think your point is really good. You know, it's a wonderful resource. The guide is free and in lots of languages. There is e-learning, you know, which is free. You've got a self-study site. You've got a practice exam. You know, you've got a lot of stuff that you can access very quickly and very easily. And I think that's very important. And then it's, you know, I know it's easy to focus on the exam, but, you know, if one project uses one tool, and that makes that project a little bit better, a bit faster, a bit more efficient with the way money is used, or improves the quality a little bit, that's fantastic. That is a positive result. So sometimes with project management, it can be a little bit, what's the right word? It can be a little bit frightening. You download a guide and, oh my God, this is 150 pages, it's so big. Where do I start? And actually, you don't need to do all of it. Edson mentioned that earlier, and I just want to mention it. You know, again, you take one tool, use that, make a difference to your projects, help your beneficiaries. You know, and that's a fantastic way to start. And when you've got one tool working, you can do another one. And Krupa's asking a great question. Can an individual get the certification? Yes. It is an individual certification, so anybody can do this. And has it been used by governments? Yes, it has. Here in the UK, DFID have trained about 400 people in their offices around the world. So certainly government has started to use this. Now, clearly not as many government people have done it as NGO people. Okay, fine. But still, hello, Yelena, welcome. But I think that the broader point that this is something for anybody working in development. It doesn't matter if you've got a big project, a small project. The idea is that there is something in here for you that might be using one tool. It might be doing the certification. That's your decision. And then there's a lot of resources to help you. And then Krupa's asking about the cost of the certification. Okay, so the cost of the certification for an international NGO staff member is $50, but for a local NGO, so this is a local organization registered in the country, it's $20 per person. But as I said, you don't have to do the certification. Maybe you don't need that. Maybe just using one or two tools is enough. The idea is, you've got a menu. It's like a restaurant. You have a menu of different opportunities, and then it's your choice as to what you do. And it's not exclusive. You could download the guide, read it, use one or two of the tools, then use one or two more, and do the certification later. That's okay. That's no problem. So it's not as if you've got to do all of it tomorrow. It's just a menu of opportunities. And I'll hand the microphone back to you, Edson. Over.
Thank you, John. I just typed in the chat window the link for APMG exams, which is the organization that controls the tests and exams and the costs. Is there any other question? John remember that you can practice the exam on the same link. So you have access to the sample exam, and you can do it as many times as you want to. I really like what John said about the menu. So yes, the menu is something that you can look at it and get all the food or just the food that you need for that time. So you don't have to do it all the time, and you don't have to use all the tools, all the phases. Morgana is fine. She wants to share something. I don't know if we have the microphones on. Yes, we have the microphones on. Morgana, you can go ahead and share with us something. Please go ahead and get the microphone over.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Great. So I am Morgana. I am from Inc. Inc. is a social business that has been replicating and sharing PMDPro here in Brazil since 2011. And I think we have certified more than 400 people out of those 600 certified ones in Brazil. And we are really proud of that. And I really like to, what I would like to share now is that we have just adapted the one part of our virtual training. And what we did, we filled the training only with practical examples of usage of the PMD Pro. So this is it's separate from the regular training, and it's been, we did it once only, and it was a huge success. And so maybe trying to bring local cases and real cases, not only the ones from the Delta River, can be something that will support you in bringing more people together and making them understand PMD Pro more easily. It has been really, it was really good for us to develop this, to get to know lots of cases of application of PMD Pro. And to share this with as many people as possible. So that's what I would like to share. Thank you so much.
Go ahead, John.
Thank you, Edson, and thank you so much, Morgana. I think that's great, and what a lovely example of community. The idea of this is a collaborative effort. As a sector working together, I think there were 10 NGOs that helped put PMD Pro together at the beginning. And it's just a really great example of, well, actually, look, how do we do this? How do we make this work for us? And then let's share back and give back to the, let's call it the NGO project management community. So I think that's a fabulous initiative, Morgana. Thank you so much for sharing. And back to you, Edson.
Thank you, John. Morgana, I would like to ask you, is that possible that we can access those videos and maybe put some subtitles or translate the case studies text to English and then we share on our website referring to ink? Can we do that?
I think that would be possible, but not in a short term. We are really full, because we are also planning now the face-to-face and the virtual planning and the virtual training for PMD Pro 2. So we are with our agenda a little bit full. So, but maybe for the end of the year, it would be possible to make something like that, or even translate the slides and to make them available. I think that would be an option as well.
Thank you very much, Morgana. Yes, we also are now collecting different case studies in video from different organizations in English and other languages. So we keep that in mind, and we contact you in a few months to get your case studies too and to share with all the community. Yes, John, Morgana said we have not running but preparing PMD Pro 2 courses in Brazil. The Inc. is preparing that. I've been working with them. I've been supporting their work. Mubasha asks, can you say PMD Pro is a standardization of codes? I wouldn't say codes, Mubasha. I would say practice. It's a standard of practice, not codes specifically. Yes, there are some tools that are suggested for the methodology used, but we don't have like the templates or specific tools that cannot be changed or adapt. So that's why we like the term standard of practice, not codes. And the microphone is open if someone wants to. Back to you, John. Over. John, we cannot hear you. Over.
Oh, sorry, I hadn't turned the microphone on. I was speaking very eloquently to myself. All right. So I think Mubasha's got a really interesting point about codes. And I've used the Sphere standards a lot. So I do think it's a really interesting point. And I think actually the one area that's missing from Sphere is project management. I mean, in Sphere, it will show you how to site latrines, the distance between them, the quality standards. It's fantastic. But what is missing is how you do the work, the project management stuff. So, I mean, that's one thought. And then we actually put together PMD Pro. We had the guidelines of Oxfam, Save the Children, World Vision, Catholic Relief Services, and Habitat for Humanity. So we had all of that. And then we had people who were PMP certified, or like me, Prince 2 certified. And then what happened, we looked at all of this, and we realized that actually, that the NGO materials, from all of the NGOs that were talking about project management, were not actually talking about project management. They were all about project design. And at the same time, a lot of the sector, the private sector project management certifications were all about implementation, but they didn't cover design or monitoring evaluation at all. So we needed to do something to merge them, to bring them together. And that's what PMD Pro tries to do. So just to give you an example, you see in your logical framework, you have assumptions. Okay, good. So you turn an assumption round. An assumption is usually written in the positive. So we assume there will be staff stability in our project. You turn it around and make it negative, it becomes a risk. So we may lose 2 months due to recruitment difficulties, staff instability. Okay, so we can now put that in a risk register. Okay, now it's in a risk register. We can think about, well, what are we going to do to mitigate those risks? And then we can include that in the planning. So you see how the tools from the profession of project management and the NGOs can work together. So that's how it's how it was really put together. Back to you, Edson. Over.
Thank you, John. There is a very nice quote here from Bashar. Correct. This very first time that we encountered some professional certification non-profit sector. We have lots of certification standards on the business and corporate world. I think it's a tremendous effort. Likewise, yes, it is, and it's like 5 years old now. So it's a baby, still a baby, but we expect that if you think up on the cooperative and business methodologies, they created in the 60s and the 50s. So they took more time to spread around the world. I think we are in a different time, and we are sure that it's going to be reaching more people and making better, more projects much faster than the cooperative and business methodologies. If I have any questions, it's possible to share your contact information. We will, Krupa. We will share the contact information in the last slide. John already have put his contact here. And Celia says, thank you so much, Edson and John. I'm from an organization called MZN International. Microphone is not working. And we are looking also to become the project management training organization for PMD Pro. Yes. And if there's anybody here from one of the PMD Pro training organizations who has also some advice to share in terms of training materials, of experience, we would welcome them with open arms. So I think we have Morgana has said that she's from a training organization, and Celia is basically asking to connect with training organization because they are starting to training or to prepare the PMD Pro training tool. I like one sentence that comes from LINGOs. Maybe John can correct me if I say it wrong, which is PMD Pro is making one project better at a time, or making better projects one at a time, or something like that. I really like this sentence. So this is really what we're trying to do. Is there any further questions? You also have our contact information. You have John already put his email on the chat. We have here the PM4NGOs and the LINGOs website and the project service LINGOs website. So you can contact us through those emails and websites. And we'll be very glad to take a look. As we said, the methodology is free. It's for free. You can download the guide. So take a look of the guide, take a look of the website, bring your suggestions, your comments. Drop us a line. We'd be very glad to answer your questions and to bring your ideas to the community and to development of the methodology. Mubashar says, like we in CSO deals with the behavioral change mostly and strategies to intervene, and others the problems are different. Is it possible to standardize practice in such circumstances? Let me pass to you, John. Over.
Yeah, thank you. I actually think well, first of all, I think that the differences are much smaller than we often make out. So, behavioral change. Actually, most projects in the private, public, and non-profit sectors are actually about changing a behavior. So, for example, you might work in a company and you're introducing a new computer system. the reason you introduce it is because you want some behavior to change. So that's one immediate thought there. But that said, if you, and I've seen things like behavior change used as excuses for not planning. And I don't mean it's easy, it's not. And understanding how a project is going to achieve the behavioral change is really, really important, and it's very difficult. But I do think it's really important that actually the disciplines are followed, because otherwise, you know, if you're not following a clear set of tools, you decide what the tools are. So you're not saying every project everywhere uses the same tools. You decide what the most appropriate tools are. But then you need to do it. Because if a project is not planned effectively, it will probably fail. There's an old project management saying that if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And, you know, so, well, again, I see the point in the chat. It's profit-oriented, so we can standardize. I don't agree. It's certainly profit-oriented, but I don't think, if you think about the variety of businesses, you might be working in IT, engineering, consumer goods, manufacturing. You know, it could be a vast range of things. They don't standardize across sectors, but each organization, what the organizations do is they sit down and they say, okay, what is the best way for us in our company to manage the projects? How are we going to deliver most value? Well, actually, that is exactly the same question as in an NGO. How do we deliver most value? And two organizations may decide to do that in different ways. That's fine. No problem with that. But I think it is really important that all of the organizations have a clear process for doing that. You know, and I can tell you a story about when that didn't happen. I was in Kitgum. I went to Kitgum in northern Uganda in 2002, in the middle of the war with the Lord's Resistance Army. And on the wall, they had a huge whiteboard. It was beautiful. And it was an enormous Gantt chart in great detail. And it was talking about all the livelihoods work. And I looked at it. And, you know, this was in the middle of a war. And, you know, it just didn't feel right. So I talked to the people. And they said, you know, tell me about all this work. Oh, no. We're not doing that at all. We're doing emergency response, which is what I suspected. I said, well, why do we have this plan on the board? And the reason was it was so beautiful that nobody wanted to change it. But as a result, there was complete chaos and nobody knew what was going on. There was no real coordination between the different teams, functions, or whatever. And the finance people, they had no idea what was going on, so they were allocating costs pretty much at random, and it was a complete mess. So it was, you know, I mean, I think it's, you know, a really interesting, I just think it's a really interesting example of what happens when you don't have some clear and agreed structures and processes. But back to you, Edson.
Thank you so much for your example and your story. It was really interesting. We have some more questions here. And Fabian Oviedo from Mexico asking if there is there in Mexico certified people? Yes, there are 44 people certified in Mexico, Fabian. And Francois is saying that would like to carry out to get the certification, to train. Francois, I would say go to the websites of LINGOs Project Services and PM4NGOs. You will find, and I see now that Julia also gave you the PMD Pro forward website. So you will find some self-study websites. As well, we will find the contact information for several training organizations, Francois. And Fabian says that they need to train 30 people in Spanish language. Morgan already answered saying that they train in Spanish too, and she gave him her email. Julia is also offering the email address of John, so we can also contact John. I'm going to hand over to you.
Yeah, also, I just saw you're in Yaoundé, and you could also talk to people in Plan International. Plan International in Yaoundé did PMD Pro, so you've got people there who do know, about PMD Pro. But Edson put the links on the site as well. There's a self-access site, so you can start studying by yourself. But you could also just ask people in Plan as well. Over.
I am just putting the PMD Pro forward also link on the screen. Over, John.
Yeah, there's another question, an interesting one from Mubasha, which is about the links between planning and budgeting. And I can tell you what the link should be. However, very often that's not what it is in reality. What it should be, you start with your objective. What are you trying to change? And then you work back and you do a detailed plan that includes the direct work and the indirect work. And when you've done that, then okay, now we know how long it's going to take. Then, and what resources, we can put to it, then you work out the budget. The reality is very often somebody has developed a budget, sitting up all night, drinking lots of coffee to stay awake, and it's not much better than a guess. And then when you start looking at the work needed to implement, you realize that there is a problem. So I think it is really important. You've got to have a detailed plan. And when you have a detailed plan, that's the point where you can say, all right, now how much is this going to cost? And then how much money have we got? Being really honest about it. An unrealistic plan helps nobody. So you have a realistic plan, a detailed plan, then you have a detailed, realistic budget, and then you look at what you have, and there may be a gap. Okay. Well, then what are you going to do to cover the gap? You could either do less work in the project, or you could look for more funding. But at least that way, you are staying in control of the project as opposed to the project being in control of you. So that's just my thoughts on that, Mubasha, and I hope that helps. Over.
Thank you, John. And I also make a question there, that what would be a low budget project? That depends on the organization too. That depends on the size of the organization and the whole budget of the organization. So maybe $1 million project is a small budget project for an organization like World Vision International, but a $10,000 project is a huge budget for a project in Zambia or in the countryside of Brazil. So that really depends. It depends on the organization and the experience, of course. Yes, Mubasha, it's possible to apply on PMD Pro in high or low budget projects, but the complexity of the projects might lead you to separate that project, that huge project, in several small projects. So it's going to be the funding organization, sometimes they call everything project. If you take to the World Bank, a $1 million project is a project. And maybe for us, in small organizations, it's a program. So yes, you can apply PMD Pro, but maybe you have to split this huge project in several small projects and treat them as a program. Over to you, John.
Okay, I see that Fabian needs to go, so thanks so much for coming in, Fabian. And I would just really, really recommend having a look at the PMD Pro Forward site, because all the case studies, one of these is community, it's World Vision in Zimbabwe. We, with LINGOs, we train the trainers train the staff train the community, and they built, I think it was a classroom or something. But then the community kept the tools and used it to build the teacher's accommodation in another classroom block. I mean, so the tools can be applied at lots of different levels. There's no problem with that, because the idea is that you decide which tools work for you. You decide which tools suit your circumstances best. Over.
Thank you, John. We are a little bit ahead of the time for ending the webinar, but the discussion has been great. There's a lot of good questions, a lot of good doubts. I would like to ask if there are any further questions, and as John suggested, to check the PMD Pro Forward and to keep in touch with us. Just drop us a line, send us an email. We will be glad to answer any further questions, and we'll be very happy to receive your suggestions and your comments. So, John, would you like to say any final words? I would like to thank everybody for participating, for attending the webinar. It's been a great discussion. I hope you help us developing the methodology and spreading on the world and bringing the methodology to new countries, to new people, especially the ones that are very far from us, that maybe cannot get in contact with the methodology through the internet. You have to go on face-to-face. So please be part of our community and help us, as Lingo say, help us to improve or to get one project better at a time. Thank you very much, you all.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much. It's really good. It's great that you're interested, and just do, just let us know how we can help. So take care, and be good to stay in touch. Bye.